Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Raising Special Kids Quick Connect Facebook Live series. I'm Brittany, and I'm super excited to be hosting today. We have a really helpful topic that a lot of families are unsure how to get started with, and that is advocating, how to share your voice in the legislative process and your opinions on proposed bills. So we're going to tackle that today, but before we get started, welcome. We have been super busy at Raising Special Kids helping families. Thank you for calling us, professionals. Thank you for referring your families. It's our pleasure to serve you. Please check out our training calendar. We have a ton of events, trainings coming up. It's jam-packed full. It's at raisingspecialkids.org. Those trainings are at no cost to families, and even professionals can attend as well. So if you want to learn more about the IEP process, positive behavior support, legal options at 18, high school transition, early childhood education, and more, please take advantage of our trainings. So let's jump into today's topic. It's a lot of information families are unsure of, that even myself has had questions about in the past. And so we're going to talk about how to get involved in sharing your opinion in the legislative process. So, one of the policies at Raising Special Kids, part of our mission is to be the voice for families in public policy. We want to share information with the decision makers in our state so they have that info on how it affects our disability community and our families. And we also want to make sure you have the relevant information you need to know so you can make your voices heard before new laws, that pass will go into effect that affects our families and children. Just as a quick note, as a 501c3 organization, as a nonprofit, Raising Special Kids, we do not lobby or support individual campaigns or candidates, but we do provide education and information to legislators so they can make informed decisions about the bills and legislation that affect our families. And we also want to educate you so that you can make your own decisions and make your voices heard if you're ready to do that and if you'd like to. So let's tackle this today. We're going to talk about the request to speak system and how to contact your legislators. It's a good one, so please stay with me. So if you're not following our website already, make sure you check out raisingspecialkids.org. In our resources section, we have a legislative resources section. Here you will find bills that we are following that, again, are relevant to our community, so please make sure you check that out. And sometimes Raising Special Kids will put out position statements to the public on proposed legislation about how we feel as an organization, especially if we feel like it will harm part of the community that we serve. We recently voiced our concerns on House Bill 2460 and Senate Bill 1411. So if you'd like to review our position on those statements, again, please head over to our website at raisingspecialkids.org and check out the legislative resources section. And just to note, all of the resources I mentioned, the links in the comments, they are now going to be housed on the pinned post. So if you follow us on Facebook, you'll see a pinned post. We're also going to put that link, the show notes of these Facebook Lives that have the links and the resources we share in our video library so you can access them. So please make sure you check that out. Okay, so how can I get involved? Individually, what can we do to get involved, to share our voice and get involved in advocacy for our state? So to share your opinion on proposed legislation, Arizonans can do so in person. You can go down to the legislature and request to speak in front of a committee hearing that bill. And some people do that, and that's wonderful. We realize that sometimes that's hard for families, especially families like ours that have so much going on with our kiddos, and it can be inconvenient. But the good news is there is another option. To participate in the legislative process without having to physically attend the hearings, you can sign up through the official request to speak system. And I have my notes here so we can go over how to do that. So the Request to Speak program, or RTS for short, is designed to allow the public to register an opinion on bills that are listed on agendas and request to speak on that bill for the committee. And so it replaces those old slips of paper that were previously used to sign in and let the committee chairperson know you wanted to, speak to that committee. Under that old paper system, you could only sign in to speak or register an opinion if you were actually physically at the Capitol. But now, because of the Request to Speak system, RTS, we have the option from doing that from the comfort of our home. So the initial setup does require you to be physically at a kiosk down at the Capitol in either the House or the Senate, and you can set it up there. But once you have that done, you are allowed to participate and put in your opinions in this system so that as the bills are being heard by the various committees, the legislators can view your opinions and your stands on these bills. And then you also can follow them and keep track of the bills that are important to you. Make sure you're also following, the legislator's website, the azleg.org. We'll put that in the comments as well. That has information about, the Capitol events, legislation, the calendar of when they're being heard, really pertinent information for Arizona. So please make sure you're checking that out as well if you want to get involved in advocacy. So like I mentioned, in order to create this RTS account, constituents are required to physically go to the Capitol that first time and go to one of those kiosks in the House or the Senate and physically put your information in and set that up. The good news is, there is an organization that can help. So for many families, being able to go down to the Capitol isn't realistic and we're busy, but there is a wonderful nonprofit called Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, and they will do it for you. So they have runners that go to the Capitol several times a week. So if you contact them and give them your information, they will pretty quickly get you set up for that request to speak system, physically go down there to the kiosk for you and set that up. They also have really helpful information on their website. We have it in the pinned comments. They'll do Legislature Weekly updates that are helpful and relevant information that's important to you guys. So definitely reach out to Civic Engagement Beyond Voting if it's difficult for you to get down to the Capitol and physically sign up for the RTS system with that kiosk. But once you're signed up, whether you do it yourself or you reach out to this awesome nonprofit to do it for you, you're able to register your opinion on bills and provide comments so that our legislators that are making these decisions can see how the public feels about whatever bill they're hearing in whatever committee. It's nice too because you can also, even if you get started, so say okay, eventually I'm going to go down and get that kiosk, set up at the kiosk, get that done. You can at least get started online, but all you'll be able to do is the bill status inquiry. So you can track activity, but you won't be able to physically register your opinion unless it's set up at the kiosk. Like if you do it, like I mentioned, or if this nonprofit Civic Engagement Beyond Voting does. Once you do that, you're able to register opinions, and it's a really great tool for us to be parent advocates. And a lot of families are intimidated by that process, but we hope this clarified things for you. I am putting in the pinned comments the link that gives you kind of the request to speak, everything you need to know. So the logistics of how to physically use the program to register your opinion, how to add the bills that you want to follow into your account, all of that. So please make sure you check that out so you can get the nitty-gritty details on how that program works. So it's also important to know who your legislators are, who the state and national representatives are that are representing us as voters and constituents. Something to remember, some people are nervous, myself included, in thinking about, contacting my local representative and sharing my opinion or letting the state senator know how I feel. It can be a little bit intimidating, but we want families to remember that these people are just people. And if they don't hear from their community on how families and individuals in the community feel on proposed legislation, then they're not really hearing from the people that it will affect, especially for the bills that are important to our population and the disability community. So you can email or call their office. You can request appointments to meet with them and share how you feel about certain legislation and ask for their help. It does help, some tips, have common ground. So even if you're meeting with one and you disagree, be polite and professional about it and try to find common ground with them. It also helps, especially for our population, if you're sharing your story about how a certain piece of legislation will affect your child and your family, personalize that story, know your audience, help them know where you're coming from. That's super helpful when you're talking to our representatives. If you want to know how to find your state representatives and senators, it is at azleg.gov/member roster. And again, we have that in our resource that you can check it out. We also will share how to connect our U.S. representatives, and that website is in the pinned comments as well. Don't be afraid to speak up and reach out. When you're more informed, you're more empowered, and together, we can make a difference for families raising children with disabilities. So we hope this was helpful for you. As we wrap up, there are some helpful resources I wanted to share that we will have in that pinned comment. Definitely, again, a plug for following, the legislature's website. azleg.gov, let me clarify that, it's azleg.gov. You can also watch live proceedings on this website as well, and you can also track bills there. So, please check that out. Staying informed is important, and those links are in the pinned comment for you to check out. So in closing, we hope this was a helpful overview of some simple ways that you can get involved in advocacy and in sharing your voice when it comes to legislation that affects our disability community. We really encourage you to register for that request to speak system. Either you physically do it or take advantage of that nonprofit that will help the community out and have them set up that account for you at a kiosk so that way you can register your opinion on bills that you feel strongly about. We also hope that you'll contact your legislators, know who they are, be confident in sharing your story. Your voice matters, and together we can make a difference for our community and for families raising children with disabilities in Arizona. Being informed is being empowered. Please follow our website. That legislative resources section is super helpful. And remember, you can also see what bills we're following there, as well as the bills we have opinions about and our organization has put a position statement on. We hope you take advantage of those resources. Please reach out to Raising Special Kids if you have any questions. We are here for you, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.